This is Luciana Turner of the LT&A Consulting Group bringing you this morning's installment of Contractors Chatter. You know how we do. As you come into the room, say hello. Drop a comment. If you're catching this by the replay, hashtag replay. Oh, wow. This morning has been a little hectic so far, and it's only 7:30 a.m. You know what? It hasn't been hectic. I need to stand in my leadership and just admit I just got a late start to the day. And I'm not broadcasting on my Instagram account. Sorry, IG. I just couldn't get my life together to get set up in time. And that's just because I was reading. And I apologize for being late going live this morning. But here we are. In fact, I almost didn't go live this morning at all, but that isn't what we do. We persevere, we go ahead, and we do what we need to do. Because that's what we do as business leaders. We push through. But if you find value in the content that I'm sharing with you, share it with your network, share it with your friends, your other business partners, business compadres, because you don't want to be the only one in your network growing. Um, I am taking a training class this week. That's an amazing training class. It's a speaker's training class. And the instructor made a statement that I felt was powerful in its simplicity. Good morning, Lavanya. And he said the old adage was leaders read. And most of us heard that statement, leaders read. He said that's not true. Leaders learn. Let that sink in just a little bit. Leaders don't read. Leaders learn. And what he went on to say was people are trying to fit themselves into a mold that doesn't necessarily fit them. There are people out here trying to be effective, efficient leaders, and they hate reading. However, there are audiobooks, there are podcasts, there are alternate means of getting to the information, was his ultimate point. And true leaders learn how to get to the information. So if you're not a reader, now me personally, give me a book and you put on my fuzzy socks, I'm going to curl up in a corner and I'm happy. Audiobooks don't work for me because I tend to drown. After a while, I don't even know that the audio is playing. That's just me. I remember my manager making a big deal one time because I had music playing. I didn't even hear the music in my office. Why? Because eventually I tune out what's going on around me. So audiobooks do nothing for me. However, I know people that audiobooks is the thing for them. So his thing is, as a leader, you pick what medium works best for you to glean the information that you need to get. And so many people in that training, minds were blown by such a simple concept. Leaders learn. Simple yet powerful concept. I just never could get into audiobooks. When I was starting my business, I was still in the corporate space. And I was like, how am I going to get all of the information I need to get and to start my business while still maintaining my job? I would listen to interviews, podcasts, and stuff on my way to work. I would go out on my lunch, sit in my car, which is something I did anyway, and I would watch webinars. I had to, I would sit at my desk and plug in and listen to different interviews and things. The point is, that's how I obtained information. I had some flexibility at that time because I was salaried. So as long as I got my hours in, it wasn't a big deal until I got the manager from Satan. But I would actually take extended lunches to attend um, half day seminars, all in the name of building my business. Leaders lead, leaders learn. Seminars, podcasts, conferences are all different modes that we as leaders have at our disposals of obtaining information. Leaders have to be in constant learning mode. Otherwise, how are you leading? And what are you leading? I just thought that was it wasn't a mind blowing revelation for me because that was something I knew, but the way he positioned it was mind blowing. If you understand what I'm saying, his positioning of it was mind blowing. However, there were so many people in the training whose minds were blown by that bit of information. So, and then I also loved the way he delivered some other content and how he has there's a program that I'm going to do. I just love the way the whole training and the whole format is going. It's been an amazing week. I've shared tidbits of what I've learned with you guys. It's a speakers class that I'm taking that I'm sharing some knowledge around. And a lot of people do not understand the effective and efficiency of leadership in business and leadership in government contracting. And I've shared on this platform once before, and I actually was at a conference I spoke at last year, how my lack of leadership or my lack of up leveling of leadership cost me tremendously. It cost me $1 million contract, not because I couldn't do the work. And far too often, there's these conversations in government contracting are too one dimensional or too one note. You can win a contract and lose the award, especially if you not up leveling your leadership, especially if you're not understanding the role that you play in the contracting process. And the bad part about losing the contract, it wasn't that I couldn't do the work. I didn't manage my team correctly. And not because I should have fired somebody for not doing their job. Instead, I went into let me just do the work, which is not what you're supposed to do as the business owner. Because then how am I doing the work on a contract and growing my business? You can't do it. And still paying them. No, I should have fired somebody and replaced them. They weren't key personnel on the contract. I know key personnel because I deliberately bid the contract so I was the only key personnel. I didn't even effectively use my leadership in the fact that I was smart enough to bid the contract in such a way I could swap out people and not be affected. You see where I'm going with this? And I'm sharing this lesson that I learned, and I was still toggling between corporate and my business. I wasn't fully committed to the commitment, which is why I didn't up-level my leadership. I was still and I'm gonna answer that question as soon as I make this point. Um, I was still thinking with an employee mind instead of the mindset of a business owner, which is what cost me that contract. Now, as to this question, I actually have two businesses. I am a government contractor. I bid on contracts for work with the government. So, what I'm talking is what I do. I'm actually a consultant who help businesses who wish to integrate government contracting as a form or additional level of revenue. That's actually what I initially got started in business for in the first place. I just started government contracting as oops, sorry. I just do the government contracting just because I like the government contract. I'm just saying. You can't teach what you don't do. I've been in the industry for 20 plus years as a compliance officer. So I see the audit side. So when I'm telling you, oh, no problem. Um, so I understand government contracting. And the thing is, I understand it from because I've been on the audit side first. So coming from the audit side first and knowing the mistakes of not having proper record keeping, knowing the mistakes of not understanding the rules and regulations, knowing the mistakes of thinking you can do it wrong and fix it later and how costly that is. Seen it, been there, seen the checks written back to the government. Um, Experience crisis when the government comes in and suspends your billing. And don't let anybody who told you the government can't suspend your billing is somebody you shouldn't talk to. The government can and will suspend your billing if you're non-compliant enough. And when I say suspend your billing, that means they stop your ability to get paid until you follow the rules of the government. And you still have to keep working because you still have a contract. Hello. You still have a contract to perform on. You still have payroll. You still have all that other stuff. And the government, through the power of the Defense Contract Audit Agency, DCAA, or the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, can come in and say, you are so non-compliant, we are suspending your ability to get paid until you come in line with the rules and regulations of this industry. And then not only do you have to check the check boxes, they audit to make sure you really do. Then they release all that past billing. Now, where are you going to get the money from to float all them bills until that stuff happens? Because let me tell you, you cannot stop work. That's a whole other barrel of, because you don't have the power. You're not the client. And I know somebody said, well, if it's all that, why do you want to do government contracting? Because you're still working with the world's largest client. If you do it right in the first place, you don't have to worry about your billing getting suspended. Which would you rather do? Spend the money in the beginning to set it up right and a monthly maintenance fee to keep it right, or run the risk of your billing getting suspended? And I really think, once again, this is an up-leveling of leadership. This is an up-leveling of mindset. I know a great mindset coach if you need one. She got my mind all the way right. I mean, snapped it all the way right. And matter of fact, it's on my calendar to work with her again next year. My the leadership coach that I'm proud to consider her a friend. She's actually speaking at the conference or the intensive this October. She's coming in, and she is a government contracting officer. So she's wearing two hats at the intensive. She will come in there and talk to you about leadership. And she's also going to come in there and talk to you about what the government looks for contractors. All people want to do is write these RFPs and win these contracts, but there's so much more to the story. Oh, mindset coach, Varian Brandon. She's the bomb. She is so much the bomb. Get you all the way right. Oh my goodness. She is so much, so much, so much. We'll get you all the way snapped back right. There's a lot of people who don't even do recruiting correctly in the government space. And then they're so busy listening to these people who want to tell you how to cheat when you can make millions and billions literally in the government space just doing it the right way. It is so much easier to just do it the right way than it is to slip and slide and duck and dodge, as they say. It's just, there's so, as the song goes, there's so much more to the story. The question is, are you ready to up level? Or are you ready to keep going? As I was saying yesterday, in the midst of my coughing fits, so I don't know if the message got across or not. I don't know what was going on with me yesterday with all that hacking and wheezing I had going on. I was interviewing some government contractors because I wanted to include a panel discussion from successful contractors on how they got started, how they won their first 10 contracts. And what I noticed was a pattern of they didn't know how they won. They became accidental contractors. Well, accidental contracting isn't the way to go. Because what happens if one of those contracts gets snatched away? What happens if one of those contracts suddenly gets defunded? What happens when those contracts end? It takes you too long to repeat the process because you don't even know how you did it in the first place. You need to have a sound, tried and true process in place. How did you get where you are? So you can streamline where you're going. I don't think these should be hard questions. Now, apparently, they were hard questions for some of the people I was interviewing because they just could not answer them. And I wanted to bring in people that would give my audience some insight. And I'm like, well, damn, you need to be in the audience. You can't give insight to something you don't have insight to. So, and there's no shade to anybody because a lot of people accidentally got into business. I'm just saying, a lot of people accidentally got into business. A lot of people accidentally did a lot of things they are currently doing in life. We're going to leave it right there. But When do we commit to the commitment of getting it right, setting that strong foundation, learning the rules of engagement, learning the rules of the industry? It's just valid questions. And with that, we're going to close out today's edition of Contractors Chatter. Tomorrow, I believe I may pull something out of the archives for you guys. So I can do some preparation for next week's, because I want to dive a little more into what's going on with the appropriations, the budget, some upcoming legislative changes. I want to delve into the 8A changes. I just want to do a little research, and I want to get a head start on next week. So I may reach into my archives and pull out an oldie and but goodie, or I may just do another live. I don't know. We'll see. But join me tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. for another edition of Contractors Chatter. Tap into the intensive. If you know someone who is thinking of becoming a government contractor, let them know about it. It's a great investment. I attend conferences of this level within the industry, and quite frankly, for what I'm putting together at this price point, I pay $3,000-$4,000 for general admission. So I'm trying to reproduce it on a lower level so that smaller businesses can have access to this level of information. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow morning for another installment of Contractors Chatter. I'm Luciana Turner, your host. Have an amazing, amazing day.